Chapter 7. They started at the box, which was closed at the moment, double doors of metal lying flat on the ground, covered in white paint, faded and cracked. The day had brightened considerably, the shadows stretching in the opposite direction from what Thomas had seen yesterday. He still hadn't spotted the sun, but it looked like it was about to pop over the eastern wall at any minute. Albie pointed down at the doors. This here, the box. Once a month, we get a newbie like you. Never fails. Once a week, we get supplies. Clothes, some food. Don't need a lot. Pretty much runs ourselves in the glade. Thomas nodded, his whole body itching with the desire to ask questions. I need some tape to put over my mouth, he thought. We don't know jack about the box, you get me? Albie continued. Where it came from, how it gets here, who is in charge. The shanks that sent us here ain't told us nothing. We got all the electricity we need, grow and raise most of our food, get clothes and such. Try to send Slanted Greenie back in one box one time, then would have moved till we took him out. Thomas wondered what lay under the doors of the box wasn't there, but held his tongue. He felt such mixture from emotions, curiosity, frustration, wonder, all laced with the lingering horror of seeing the griever that morning. Albie kept talking, never bothering to look Thomas in the eye. Glades cut into 4 sections. He held up his finger as he counted off from the next 4 words. Gardens, bloodhouse, homestead, dead hands. You got that? Thomas hesitated. He shook his head, confused. Albie's eyelids fluttered briefly as he continued. Looked like he could think of 1,000 things he'd rather be doing right then. He pointed towards the northeast corner, where the fields and fruit trees were located. Gardens, where we grow the crops. Water's pumping in through the pipes in the ground. Has been. Oh, it have starved to death a long time ago. Never rains here. Never. He pointed at the southeast corner, at the animal pens and barn. Bloodhouse, where we raise and slaughter animals. He pointed at the pitiful living quarters. Homestead, stupid places twice as bigger than the first of us getting here before we keep adding to it when he sent us a wooden clunk. Ain't pretty, but it works. Most of us sleep outside anyway. Thomas felt dizzy. So many questions splintered in his mind that he couldn't keep them straight. Albie pointed to the southwest corner, the forest area fronted with several sickly trees and benches. Called out the deadheads. Graveyards back in the corner, the thicker woods, ain't much else. You can go there to sit and rest, hang out, whatever. He cleared out his throat, as if he wanted to change the subject. You'll spend the next 2 weeks working on one day each for 4 different job keepers, until we know that you're best at slopper, breakneck, bagger, truckle, something stick always done. Come on. Albie walked towards the south door, located between what he'd called the deadheads and the bloodhouse. Thomas followed, wrinkling his nose up at the sudden smell of dirt and manure coming from the animal pens. Graveyard? He thought. Why do they need a graveyard in a place full of teenagers? That disturbed him even more than knowing some words Albie kept saying. Words like slopper and bagger. That didn't sound so good. He came as close to interrupting Albie as he'd done so far, but willed his mouth shut. Frustrated, he turned his attention to the pens in the bloodhouse area. Several cows nibbled and chewed through the full of greenish hay. Pigs lunged at muddy pits, an occasional flickering tail on one side since they were alive. Another pen held sheep, and there was chicken coops and turkey cages as well. Workers bustled around the area, looking as if they'd spent their whole lives on a farm. Why do I remember these animals? Thomas wondered. Nothing about them seemed new or interesting. He knew what they were called, what they normally ate, what they looked like. Why was stuff like that and still lodged in his memory, but not where he'd seen animals before or with whom. His memory loss was baffling in its complexity. Albie pointed to the large barn in the back corner. Its red paint long faded to a dull rust color. Back there's where the silkers work. Nasty stuff? That nasty. If you like blood, you can be a slicer. Thomas shook his head. Slicer didn't sound good at all. As they kept walking, his focused his attention on the other side of the glade, section where Albie called the deadheads. The trees grew thicker and denser the farther back the corner went, more alive and full of leaves. Dark shadows filled the depths of the wooded area despite the time of day. Thomas looked up, squinting to see that the sun was finally visible, though it looked odd, more orange than it should be. It hit him that this was yet another example of the odd selective memory in his mind. He returned his gaze to the deadheads, a glowing disk still floating in his vision, blinking to clear it away. He suddenly caught the red lights again, flickering and skittering around the deep in the darkness of the woods. What are those things? He wondered, irritating that Albie hadn't answered him earlier. The secrecy was very annoying. Albie stopped walking. Thomas was surprised to see they reached the south door, the two walls bracketing in the exit towards above them. The thick slabs of grey stone were cracked and covered in ivy, as ancient as anything Thomas could imagine. He craned his neck to see the top of the walls far above. His mind spun with the odd sensation that he was looking down, not up. He staggered back a step, awed once again by the structure of his new home, then finally returned his attention to Albie, who had his back to the exit. Out there's the maze. Albie jabbed a thumb over his shoulder, then paused. Thomas stared in that direction. Through the gap in the walls they served an exit from the glade. The corridors out there looked much the same as ones he'd seen from the window by the east door early that morning. This thought gave him chill, make him wonder if a griever might come charging towards them any minute. He took a step backwards before realizing what he was doing. Calm down, he chided himself, embarrassed. Albie continued. 2 years I've been here, ain't none been here longer. A few before me are already dead. Thomas felt his eyes widen, his heart quicken. 2 years we've tried to solve these things. No luck. Shucking walls move out there every night just as much as here the doors. Mapping out ain't easy. No way. He nodded towards the concrete blocks building into the run, which the runners had disappeared the night before. Another stab of pain sliced through Thomas's head. There were too many things to compute at once. They'd been here 2 years. The walls moved down in the maze. How many had died? He stepped forward, wanted to see into the maze for himself, as if the answers were printed out the walls out there. Albie held a hand and pushed Thomas in his chest, sending him stumbling backwards. Ain't no going out there, Shank. Thomas had to suppress his pride. Why not? You think I sent Noob to you before you wake up just to kicks? Freak, that's the number one rule. The only one you'll never be forgiven to breaking. No, ain't nobody allowed in the maze except runners. Break the rule, and if you ain't killed by the grievers, we kill ourselves. You get me? Thomas nodded, grumbling inside, sure that Albie was exaggerating, hoping that he was. Either way, if he had any doubt what he told Chuck the night before, it had now completely vanished. He wanted to be a runner. He would be a runner. Deep inside, he knew he had to go out there, into the maze. Despite everything he learned and witnessed firsthand, it called him as much as hunger or thirst. A movement up on the left wall of the south door caught his attention. Startled, he reacted quickly, looking just in time to see a flash of silver. A patch of ivy shook as the things disappeared into it. Thomas pointed up at the wall. What's that? He asked before he could shut down again. Albie didn't bother looking. No questions till the end, Shank. How many times I gotta tell you? He paused, then let out a sigh. Beetle blades. "The town the creators watch us. You better not." He was cut off by a booming, ringing alarm that sounded from all directions. Thomas clamped his hands to his ears, looking around as the siren blared, his heart about to thump it way out of his chest. But when he focused back on Albie, he stopped. Albie wasn't acting scared. He appeared confused, surprised, the alarm clanging through the air. "What's going on?" Thomas asked, relief flooding his chest that his tour guide didn't seem to think the world was about to end. But even so, Thomas was getting tired of being hit by waves of panic. "That's weird," was all, albeit he scanned from the glade, squinting. Thomas noticed people in the bloodhouse pens glancing around, apparently just as confused. One shouted to Albie, the short, skinny kid drenched in mud. What's up with that?" the boy asked, looking to Thomas for some reason. "I don't know," murmured back in a distant voice. But Thomas couldn't stand it anymore. "Albie, what's going on?" "The box," Shuckface, "the box," was all Albie said before he set off for the middle of the glade at a brisk pace that almost looked to Thomas like panic. "What about it?" Thomas demanded, hurrying to catch up. "Talk to me," he wanted to scream at him, but Albie didn't answer or slow down. They got closer to the box. Thomas could see a dozen of kids were running around in the courtyard. He spotted Newt and called to him, trying to suppress his rising fear, telling himself things would be okay, that there had to be some reasonable explanation. "Newt, what's going on?" Newt glanced over, then nodded and walked over, strangely calm in the middle of the chaos. He swatted Thomas on the back. "Means that bloody newbie's coming up in the box." He paused as if expecting Thomas to be impressed. "Right now." So, as Thomas looked more closely at Newt, he realized that he had mistaken for calm and actually disbelief, maybe even excitement. "So?" Newt replied, his jaw dropping slightly. "Greenie, we've never had two newbies show up at the same month, much less 2 days in a row." And with that, he ran up towards the homestead.